Israel's military on October 13th directed the evacuation of over 1.1 million people from northern Gaza. Since then, Palestinians have been gathering at the Rafah Border Crossing with Egypt in the northern Gaza Strip in the hope of leaving ahead of an imminent Israeli ground offensive. The Rafah Border Crossing is the southernmost post of exit from Gaza. It borders Egypt's Sinai Peninsula. The crossing is controlled by Egypt. To answer this question, we need to understand the geography of the Gaza Strip. To the east and the north of the Strip, it borders Israel. Towards the west of the Gaza Strip lies the Mediterranean Sea, which is also controlled by Israel. The south point of Gaza lies the Egyptian border. So, Egypt is the only country that shares a border with the Gaza Strip apart from Israel. This is where the Rafah border crossing lies. So, this crossing between the Gaza Strip and Egypt is the sole point to exiting Gaza that does not lead to Israeli territory. Since Israel has imposed a total blockade of Gaza, cutting electricity and stopping all essential supplies, this point also becomes the only route for the entry of any humanitarian aid amidst the continuing bombings by Israeli defense forces. Until the 19th century, the Sinai Peninsula was controlled by the Ottoman Empire. Subsequently, it fell into the hands of the British, which maintained control till the mid-20th century. In 1917, British Foreign Secretary Arthur Balfour declared the creation of a Jewish national homeland in Palestine. Israel was formally formed in 1948. Sinai was captured by Israel in the wake of the Six-Day War with Arab states in 1967. In 1979, the Egyptian-Israel peace treaty restored the border to the line drawn in 1906. This meant that Egypt regained control of the Sinai Peninsula, while Israel kept the city of Gaza. After the Israeli troops withdrew, the Rafah crossing point was opened in 1982 after the Camp David Accords. In the process, Palestinians continued to struggle for their own land. In 1987, Palestinians declared the First Intifada, an uprising against the occupation of their land by Israel. This lasted till 1993. The Gaza-Jericho Agreement in 1994 gave Palestine autonomy and created a new system of shared control over the Rafah crossing. This system gave the Palestinian Authority some control over security and screening procedures, but Israel kept control over most of the crossings' security and operations, as well as retained the power to inspect and deny access to anyone. This part of the agreement was later made null and void and replaced with the almost same language in the Oslo II agreement. In 2000, right-wing Israeli politician Ariel Sharon visited the Al-Aqsa Mosque compound in Jerusalem's Old City, which is the second holiest site in Islam and revered by Jews as the Temple Mount, their most sacred site. Palestinians considered it a provocation, which resulted in the Second Intifada. As a result, Israel took control of Rafah in 2001, but it disengaged itself from the border in 2005. Palestinian authorities signed the agreement on movement and access with Israel, which gave Palestinian government the right to control the border. But Israel held the authority to close the border whenever it chooses. In 2007, the Hamas took control of Gaza, and since then, the border crossing has been mostly shut by the Egyptian government, citing security issues in the country. Palestinians have to apply to Egyptian authorities to cross the border. Gaza has been facing a total blockade and is running out of essential supplies, with Israel rejecting any humanitarian aid to Palestinians in Gaza since 7th October. As per reports, hundreds of trucks filled with aid were waiting on the Sinai side of the Rafah border. On 18 October, US President Joe Biden arrived in Tel Aviv to show solidarity with Israel, and an agreement seems to have been made for humanitarian aid to enter Gaza. Biden said Egypt would allow up to 20 trucks in the first batch. However, after further delays and negotiations, the first consignment of humanitarian aid finally entered Gaza via the Rafah border on 21 October.